Actress and comedian Lily Tomlin got her successful start on the television show Laugh-In. Well, that was nearly 10 years ago, but Ernestine the operator and Edith Ann are still very much a part of Lily Tomlin. What gives you your ideas for characters? Edith Ann, for example. How did that come about?
Well, sometimes a character just I wanted to do a child specifically because I wanted it for range. Yeah. And then I was on Laugh-In at the time, and I thought it would be great to have a kid so that she could say all kinds of things, you know, that an adult couldn't say. Mm-hmm. And so she kind of was like living in my body, you know, like I knew what she was like and what she sounded like, and I would just improvise and play and think, and I just knew, you know, she just was there, so I would go to, I used to go to coffee houses a lot and work out and stuff, and I would go to a coffee house and I would ask, and I would say to the audience, I'm working on a kid, a 5-year-old, and I want you just to ask her questions, and I would try to explore her that way, and eventually I developed her in a lot of material.
What would Edith Ann be saying now if she were here being interviewed, the center of attention of all these people?
First, I would like to get an ice cream soda with coffee ice cream because I need a pick-me-up.
Well, Edith Ann,
she'd love to be here.
It's fascinating. The reason I ask you is not to put you on the spot and ask someone to perform spontaneously, but I have a feeling that a lot of subconscious feelings come out through Edith Ann that you're not even aware are there. And we all have that capacity, except a sensitive person like you enables herself to let that come through. And I don't know why it is. Ventriloquists do the same thing. They're I don't want to call them dummies. They're too lovely to be called dummies, but they're puppets. Puppets. Reveal so much about the people manipulating them.
You know, Edgar Bergen was on Laugh-In one time, and he was doing just those cameos, and there was a hard wall, we called it a hard wall, behind him, which is just a substantial wall, but it's a flat, and it's just portable. Yeah. And suddenly it began to fall, and everybody yelled, "Watch out!" And Charlie McCarthy turned around. Edgar Bergen didn't move.
In a moment of stress.
Yes.
That's incredible.
It was great.
Well, you know how you talk to those things, and I then will talk for a moment about the phone character, which, was that all your creation? Did you dream up the woman at the switchboard?
Well, I worked on that. I had that character before I went to Laugh-In, and I had worked on that character with a writer friend of mine named Jim Rusk, who lives in Tulsa, Oklahoma. He lived in New York at the time, and I used to work with Jim a lot, and we would just pitch and work and, you know, and fool around, and the way you do when you create comedy sometimes. And we wanted to do a phone operator because the phone system, this was like 1968 or so, in New York, was the worst. I mean, we found out later, sometime, the phone people told me, I mean, the union people told me that the phone company had literally let the phone system deteriorate in New York because they were putting all their capital and everything into data processing and stuff to compete in that market. And they knew that they could come back and pick up the subscribers. But at that time, people were like, relationships were breaking up, you know, because people would say that they were at home all night, and they wouldn't be home all night long, you know.
It's a great sociological
It was, and people were going crazy, like they would just go on rampages because they couldn't get a dial tone. And, you know, just incredible things like, so the phone company was just the focus of so much frustration, and I was just working in little coffee houses and things, and we were working on a phone operator so we could do something on the phone company.
Well, it certainly became an overnight sensation.
It did.
Are you pleased with the experiences you've had with television? Have they been productive, positive experiences in general?
Yes. Sure. Anything, like, for me, anything for me is.
A lot of people really get down on television. They say it's very demanding. You can't really do your work. The grind of the weekly schedule is sooner or later
that's all
burns
true.
you. Yeah.
And,
but that's not necessarily a negative for you.
Well, I guess I just accept it as a given. I don't know. It's
well,
it is a very demanding medium, terribly demanding, especially if you want any real. It's so hard to maintain quality. I mean, it's just anything that you just have to turn out every week is an incredible
at this
stress.
At this point in your career, would you, if you knew what you know now, would you go back and do something else? Has it been rewarding for you? Would you?
Oh, gosh. I never think things in those terms.
You don't? Why?
Because you can't.
I know, but most of us do.
You do?
Most of us think, oh, gee, I wish I had. I wish.
Oh, maybe I do that once in a while. Let me think. What do I say?
Have you been married?
No.
You're sorry you were not married, have children? I mean, that's...
Sometimes. Sometimes because I like kids very much.
I guess
I could still
well,
obtain a child in one way or the other.
You certainly could. No, I think I think of the career thing. How important is the career, you know? I mean, you didn't come from a show business family, so you came from a family whose setting you have not followed in any way. And that usually does violence to us when we go far afield from the way we were raised. And I wondered if that has bothered you subconsciously. There's no reason
Very
why it should.
possibly. Very, you know, but there's a lot of positives
Sure.
involved too. And I'm still very close to my family. My family's all Southern, and I'm sure I've milked them dry for material, you know.
Your parents still living?
My mother is. My father died.
But did he see you?
Oh, sure. In fact, I'll tell you, this is my favorite story about my father, or one of my favorite stories. When he and my mother had moved to Indiana because his factory got sold, and he was a man already in his 50s, and to keep his job, he went to Indiana. And I had just got on Laugh-In, and of course, and Ernestine was overnight a sensation.
Yeah.
So even though I was only on 2 or 3 weeks, I was already kind of well-known.
Yeah.
I mean, she was well-known at least. So
Yeah.
I stopped off in Indiana, and my father was so tickled about it, and he took us. I never went to a restaurant with my father in my life, or never went to a movie with him. I mean, a lot of blue-collar families just don't do things like that, or back in those days they didn't. And so my father was going to make a big thing out of it, and he was going to take us like to, you know, like it's not exactly a bar, but it's like a tavern. So it's kind of family, or it was kind of respectable.
Yeah, sure.
So he took us all there, and we were having dinner, and there were 2 young kids playing and singing at the piano, and my father called the waitress over, and he said, "Who do you think that is?" pointing to me. And she said, "Well, I guess that's your daughter." He said, "Yeah, you're damn right. Get up and sing a song, babe." And I said, "Oh, Daddy, please, I don't want to." He said, "Babe, get up and sing a song for the people." And I said, "Papa, I couldn't do it. I'd die." And he said, "Babe, you got to learn how to be popular."
Oh, cute.
So.
But he was so proud.
So I used that on my first time I did a special, because, you know, making that transition, of course I was doing a pilot for a series.
Right.
And I told that story on the first, you know, to me it was like the sublime
Sure.
moment. I think it eluded most people. But
Well, but most of those are the most important moments for
Yeah.
us, you know. What do you want to do in the future? I mean, do you think about the future in your career, about messages? The movie 9 to 5 is a message movie, a little heavy-handed in my estimation.
Do you?
Yeah.
Think so?
And I'm a very active feminist.
Oh.
My wife's very active in the feminist
So
movement.
you mean heavy-handed in what way?
Well, I think it's the message is there, but it gets lost because it's too much.
Too much comedy and
It's
stuff?
not, well, no, it's a little the hunting the guy through. We can't talk about it too much because so many people haven't seen it.
Right.
So it's too bad we can't, because it's really worth discussing in detail.
Right.
But anyway, it's
Well, sure.
making a
I was
difference.
interested in doing something on that theme, because I'm certainly identified with feminist issues, and I thought it would be, and I was very excited to work with Dolly and Jane, and so we did, you know, and we did the best we could. I know that our intention was to do a movie that was as entertaining as we could make it, so that it would reach people.
But I guess you want to have a blend of both, some
We try.
message, and you want to just entertain.
And it's a very hard line
It is
to
indeed.
draw.
It is indeed. And some of the most, what's the word, message-carrying films have never been designed that way.
Yeah.
Casablanca is a good example of a classic, and no one was thinking of talking about ideals or anything else.
Right.
It just kind of happened.
Well, that's what makes something wonderful.
It is. Well, you're wonderful. We've enjoyed you, Lily.
Thank
We'll
you.
look forward to we'll look forward to Edith Ann. I think is that your most popular character?
No, I couldn't say that.
Really?
No, but she's very, very popular.
Yeah.
Or at least she has been. And she's one of my favorite. I mean, I do love to do her, but it's fun to do anything that's that uninhibited and that childlike.
I mean, because I love children, and I love remembering my youth. I had a happy youth, and I wish I had some character that I could lapse into and be little Joe again.
Yeah.
I think that'd be terrific.
It is. I have her big rocking chair at my house. People love to get up in it, you know.
Really?
Yeah, and they just regress.
I want
Maybe
my
that's what you
rocking
need is my
chair.
rocking chair.
I want my own. Thanks very much, Lily.
Okay, thank you.
We'll be right back.